I walked into my own kitchen at 2 in the morning, and what I saw made my heart stop. My daughter-in-law Vanessa stood at my stove, stirring something into my special tea blend, the one I drank every night before bed. But it wasn't honey or lemon she was adding. She held a small glass vial, the kind you see in hospitals, and she was shaking the last drops of clear liquid into my favorite ceramic pot. The moonlight coming through the window caught her face, and I saw something I'd never seen before. A cold, calculated smile that sent ice through my veins. I'd come downstairs because I couldn't sleep. Again. For the past 3 months, I'd been having these awful dizzy spells, terrible stomach pains, and my hands shook so bad I could barely hold my grandchildren. The doctors kept running tests, finding nothing. Stress, they said. Old age, they said. I was only 68 years old, and I'd been healthy as a horse my whole life. Before we continue, please drop a comment if you've ever experienced something like this. We'd love to hear your story, and subscribe to the channel to help us grow. I stepped back into the hallway, my heart hammering so loud I was sure she'd hear it. My mind was racing. What was in that vial? Why was Vanessa in my kitchen at 2 in the morning? And why did she look so satisfied? I crept back upstairs, got into bed fully clothed, and pretended to be asleep when I heard her footsteps on the stairs 20 minutes later. She peeked into my room. I could feel her eyes on me. And then she walked away. I lay there in the dark, my whole body trembling, not from whatever poison she'd been giving me, but from pure rage and fear. My son Travis had married Vanessa 2 years ago. Quick courthouse wedding, no family invited. He'd called me afterward, sounding happy but rushed. "Mama, I know this seems sudden, but she's the one. You'll love her." I'd tried. Lord knows I'd tried. But something about Vanessa always felt off. The way she'd cancel our Sunday dinners at the last minute. The way she'd intercept my calls to Travis. The way she'd moved into my house 6 months ago, claiming their apartment had mold issues. And then slowly started acting like she owned the place. My house. The house my late husband Jerome and I had bought 40 years ago. The house where I'd raised Travis and his sister Keisha. The house that sat on 3 acres of prime real estate in a neighborhood that had gentrified so much, developers called me monthly with offers I always refused. This house was my legacy, worth close to $3 million now, and Vanessa knew it. The next morning, I called in sick to my volunteer shift at the community center. I never called in sick. Instead, I sat in my bedroom with my door locked and made a list of everything strange that had happened since Vanessa moved in. The way she'd insisted on making my tea every night. The way my symptoms started right after she'd moved in. The way she'd suggested, so sweetly, that I should update my will, just to make sure everything's in order at your age. The way she'd brought me paperwork from a lawyer I'd never heard of, saying Travis had recommended him. I hadn't signed those papers. Something in my gut had screamed no. My hands were shaking as I pulled out my phone and dialed a number I hadn't called in 6 months. It rang 4 times before a familiar voice answered, thick with sleep and a slight British accent she'd picked up from living in London for 2 decades. "Do you know what time it is?" my twin sister Rose grumbled. "Rose, I need you," I whispered. "I think someone's trying to kill me." The line went silent. Then, "I'm booking a flight right now. Don't eat or drink anything. I mean it, Martha. Nothing." We'd always had that twin connection people talk about. Rose knew I wasn't being dramatic. She knew that if I was calling her, terrified, at 7 in the morning, something was deadly wrong. Rose arrived 3 days later, sneaking in through my back door at midnight. We stood in my bedroom, staring at each other for the first time in 3 years. People had always said you couldn't tell us apart. Same deep brown skin, same silver hair we wore natural and short, same height, same everything. Age had been kind to both of us, or maybe it had been unkind in exactly the same ways. Either way, we were still identical. "Tell me everything," Rose said, settling onto my bed. I told her about the vial, about my symptoms, about Vanessa, about how my son Travis seemed like a stranger now, always tired, always defending his wife, always too busy to really talk to me. About how Vanessa had isolated me from my friends, claiming I was too sick for visitors. About the paperwork, the life insurance policies Vanessa had mentioned, the way she'd started redecorating my house like it was already hers. Rose's face grew darker with every word. That woman is poisoning you for your estate. It's textbook. She grabbed my hands. We're switching places. Tomorrow. I'll be you, you'll be me. She won't know the difference. What about Travis? I asked. He's my son. He'll know. Rose's expression hardened. When's the last time Travis really looked at you? Really spent time with you? That woman has her hooks in him deep, Martha. We need proof before we can save him. She was right. Travis came home from work, kissed Vanessa, ate dinner, and went to bed. On the rare occasions I saw him, his eyes seemed glazed, distant. Was she drugging him too? That Sunday, I went to church one last time as myself. I needed to see my community, my church family at Greater Mount Zion Baptist. I'd been going there for 35 years. These people had buried my husband with me, had celebrated when Travis graduated from college, had prayed with me through every storm. I sat in my usual pew, third row from the front on the right side. Sister Eleanor slid in next to me, her perfume, something floral and strong, making my stomach turn. But that might have been the poison. "Martha, baby, you feeling all right?" Eleanor asked, her round face creased with concern. "You've lost weight, a lot of weight." "I've been under the weather," I said carefully. "But I'm working on getting better." Pastor Williams preached about enemies in disguise that morning. "Sometimes the devil doesn't come with horns and a pitchfork," he thundered from the pulpit. "Sometimes he comes wearing a smile and sitting at your dinner table." The congregation erupted in amens and hallelujahs. I felt every word in my bones. After service, I stood in the fellowship hall, surrounded by the smells of fried chicken, collard greens, mac and cheese, and sweet potato pie from our after-church meal. Deacon Harris approached me, his weathered face serious. "Sister Martha, I need to talk to you about something," he said quietly, pulling me aside. "That daughter-in-law of yours came by my office last week. She's a real estate agent, you know. She was asking questions about your property value, about how quickly a house like yours could sell. Said she was asking for a client, but Martha..." He looked uncomfortable. "She had your address written down, your exact property details." My blood ran cold. "Thank you for telling me, Deacon." "You need anything? You call me," he said firmly. "Jerome was my brother in Christ. I promised him I'd look after you. That promise still stands." I hugged him, fighting back tears. My church family. They saw what I'd been too trusting to see. That evening, Rose and I made the switch. She took my bedroom. I packed a small bag and slipped out to her hotel, then to her rental apartment across town. We'd rented it under her name, a little one-bedroom place where I could hide and watch everything unfold through the cameras we'd installed. The cameras had been Rose's idea. Tiny things, hidden in the smoke detectors, in the bookshelf, in the kitchen. "If she's poisoning you, we'll catch it," Rose had said. "And if there's more to this, we'll catch that too." But first, we needed to test our theory. That night, Rose, pretending to be me, drank the tea Vanessa prepared. I watched through the camera feed, my heart in my throat. But Rose had already taken the precaution of forcing herself to throw up everything she ate or drank when Vanessa wasn't around. She had antacids, anti-nausea medication, everything we might need. The next morning, Rose came downstairs looking perfectly healthy. I watched Vanessa's face on the camera feed. Confusion flickered across her features. Then concern. Then something darker. That evening, Vanessa made the tea again. But this time, I watched her add twice as much from the vial. "Good Lord," I whispered from my hiding spot, watching on my laptop. She's escalating. For the next week, I watched my life from the outside. I watched Vanessa get more and more agitated as Rose stayed healthy. I watched my son Travis come home exhausted every day. I watched Vanessa make phone calls in the garage where she thought no one could hear. But our cameras picked up everything. "It's not working," Vanessa hissed into her phone on day 8. "She should be in the hospital by now. She should be dying. What did you give me?" A male voice responded, but I couldn't make out the words. "I don't care if you need more time," Vanessa snapped. "I've already invested 6 months into this. The other 3 were so much easier. This old woman has the constitution of an ox." I nearly dropped my laptop. The other 3? 3? "I need that money," Vanessa continued. "Do you know how hard it's been playing loving wife to that fool? His mother was supposed to be dead by now. The will I forged is perfect. Once she's gone, everything goes to Travis, and what's Travis's is mine. We can finally be together, baby, just like we planned." My hands shook as I called Rose immediately. "Did you hear that?" "Every word," Rose said grimly. "We're recording everything. But Martha," she said, "the other 3, we need to call the police. Now." "Not yet," I said, though my heart was breaking. "We don't have enough. We need her to confess to more. We need to know who the other 3 are. We need to know about Travis." That night, Rose called a family meeting. I watched on camera as she sat Travis and Vanessa down in my living room. "I need to talk to you both about something serious," Rose said, playing me perfectly. "I've been thinking about my will." Vanessa leaned forward, eyes bright. "Oh, Mom, you don't need to worry about that right now." "I do," Rose insisted. "I'm not getting any younger. I want to make sure everything is clear. Travis, baby, this house, all my assets, they're going to you." Travis looked uncomfortable. "Mama, you don't need to talk about this." "But I do," Rose pressed. "Vanessa, sweetheart, you've been so good to me, taking care of me while I've been sick. I want to make sure you're taken care of too." I watched Vanessa's face. She was trying to look humble, grateful, but I could see the greed shining in her eyes like oil on water. "There's just one thing," Rose continued. "The lawyer who drew up my current will, I can't seem to find his contact information. What was his name again? The one you recommended?" Vanessa's expression flickered. "Oh, I'm not sure I remember, Mom. That was a while ago." "Really?" Rose pulled out papers from her purse. The forged will Vanessa had given me weeks ago. "Because I have his card right here. But when I called the number, it was disconnected. Isn't that strange?" The room went deadly quiet. Travis looked between his mother and his wife, confusion written all over his face. "What's going on?" he asked. Before anyone could answer, my phone rang. It was Deacon Harris. "Martha, I need you to get somewhere safe right now," he said, his voice urgent. "I did some digging after our conversation. That daughter-in-law of yours? She's not who she says she is. Her real name is Vanessa Chen." "Chen?" I interrupted. That wasn't the last name she'd given us. "She's wanted in 3 states for elder fraud. Martha, she's killed before. 3 women, all elderly, all died of mysterious illnesses after changing their wills. The families suspected foul play but could never prove it. And Martha..." He paused. "There's no record of her ever marrying Travis. No marriage license, nothing." My world tilted. "What?" "I found the real woman Travis married. Her name is Whitney. She's been missing for 6 months. Police found her car abandoned, but no body. Martha, I think the woman in your house is a con artist who's pretending to be your daughter-in-law, and I think she did something to the real Whitney." I couldn't breathe. "I need to call my sister, now." But when I tried to call Rose, the call wouldn't go through. I watched the camera feed instead, and what I saw made my blood run cold. Vanessa was standing now, and she'd pulled a gun from her purse. a small silver revolver, pointed directly at Rose's chest. "You're not Martha," Vanessa said coldly. "Martha would have been dead by now. Who are you, really?" Travis jumped to his feet. "Vanessa, what the hell? Put that gun down!" "Shut up, you idiot!" Vanessa snapped, and the loving wife mask completely fell away. "Your mother should have died weeks ago. This woman isn't sick at all. She's been faking, which means she knows." "Which means—" Vanessa's eyes narrowed. "You're the twin, Rose. Martha told me about you years ago." Rose stood slowly, hands raised. "You're right. I'm Rose. And you're not married to Travis at all, are you?" "Where's Whitney?" Travis staggered backward. "Whitney? What are you talking about? Vanessa is my wife. We got married." "You got married to Whitney Thompson 2.5 years ago," Rose said, her voice steady despite the gun. "This woman stole her identity. Where is she, Vanessa? Where's the real Whitney?" Vanessa laughed, a sound like breaking glass. "Whitney. Stupid, trusting Whitney. She made it so easy. Met her at a bar, became her friend, gained her trust. She told me all about her perfect fiancé, Travis, her rich future mother-in-law, the beautiful life she was going to have." "So I took it. Where is she?" Travis's voice broke. "What did you do to her?" "She's alive," Vanessa said casually. "For now, insurance policy. If things went south, I needed leverage. She's been my guest for 6 months, and she'll stay my guest unless you both do exactly what I say." The doorbell rang. Everyone froze. "Don't answer that," Vanessa warned, gun steady. But then I heard a voice that made my heart soar. "FBI, open up! We have a warrant!" Through the camera, I watched chaos erupt. Vanessa tried to run, but Deacon Harris had called more than just me. He'd called his nephew, who worked for the FBI. And I'd sent him every recording we had. But in the confusion, Vanessa grabbed Rose and pressed the gun to her head. "Everyone stay back or she dies!" And that's when my phone buzzed with a text from a number I didn't recognize. "Mom, help me. I'm in a basement. I'm so scared. Address is—" Whitney. She'd somehow gotten to a phone, but where Vanessa was keeping her, I had no idea if the FBI could get there in time. I watched the standoff in my living room, watched the FBI trying to negotiate, watched my son Travis realize his entire marriage was a lie, watched the woman I'd trusted trying to kill my twin sister. And then the camera feed went black. I was already in my car before I realized I'd made the decision to move. The camera feed was dead, Rose had a gun to her head, and Whitney, the real Whitney, was trapped somewhere sending desperate texts. My hands gripped the steering wheel so hard my knuckles ached as I flew through red lights toward my house. My phone rang. FBI agent Marcus Chen. "Mrs. Williams, I need you to stay away from the residence. We have the situation under control." "My sister is in there with a gun to her head," I shouted. "And Whitney just texted me. She's alive. I have the address." "Send it to me immediately," he ordered. "But do not approach your house. Vanessa is unstable and armed. She's already fired 1 shot." My heart stopped. "Is Rose—" "Your sister is unharmed. The shot went into the ceiling. But Mrs. Williams, there's something else you need to know. We've been tracking Vanessa for 8 months. Her real name is Vanessa Pritchard, and she's not working alone." The world tilted. "What do you mean?" "She has a partner. We believe he's the one who's been supplying the poison and helping her identify wealthy, elderly targets. We've connected her to 7 deaths across 4 states, not 3. The man she was talking to on the phone? We think he's at the location where Whitney is being held. If you go there alone—" "Then send backup there," I screamed. "Send everyone. That girl has been locked in a basement for 6 months because of me, because this monster wanted my house." I hung up and texted him Whitney's address, 2847 Warehouse District, Unit 12. Then I called Deacon Harris. "Deacon, I need everyone from church who can come to my house right now. Rose needs us." "We're already on our way," he said. "Sister Eleanor saw the police lights and started the prayer chain. Half the congregation is coming." When I screeched into my driveway 10 minutes later, my house was surrounded by police vehicles, their lights painting everything red and blue. But standing at the edge of my property line was something that made my throat tight. At least 50 people from Greater Mount Zion, holding candles, praying. Sister Eleanor broke from the group and grabbed me. "Martha, thank God you're safe. They won't tell us what's happening, but we heard shots fired." "Vanessa isn't who we thought," I said, my voice breaking. "She's been poisoning me. She's trying to kill Rose. She's a con artist, and she did something to Travis's real wife." The crowd's murmur turned angry. These were my people, my community, and someone had come into our midst and tried to destroy one of our own. Pastor Williams pushed through the crowd, his face set in righteous fury. "That woman sat in my church, smiled in our faces, ate our food." He turned to the congregation. "We're not leaving until Sister Rose is safe and that devil is in chains." Through my front window, I could see movement. The FBI had brought in negotiators, but Vanessa was screaming something I couldn't hear. Travis stood to the side, his face in his hands, his whole body shaking. My phone buzzed. Another text from Whitney's number. "Please hurry. He knows you found me. He's coming down here. He has a gun. Please." I showed it to Agent Chen, who'd approached me. "We have units en route to that address, but it's 20 minutes away. Mrs. Williams, I need to know everything about this partner. Did Vanessa ever mention a boyfriend? Someone she was close to?" I racked my brain, thinking through every interaction. Then it hit me. The lawyer, the fake lawyer whose card she gave me. She called him baby on that phone call. He must be Robert Pritchard, Agent Chen finished grimly. Her husband. They're a team. They've been running this scam for 5 years. They find elderly women with assets. Vanessa befriends or marries into the family. Robert provides the poison and the forged documents. Then they slowly kill the victim and take everything. They've stolen over $15 million. $15 million. 7 dead women. And I was supposed to be number 8. "But why take Whitney?" I asked. "Why not just kill her?" "Because Whitney had something they needed," a new voice said. I turned to see a young black woman in an FBI jacket approaching. "I'm Agent Simmons. We've been building a case against the Pritchards for 2 years. Whitney Thompson worked as a paralegal at a law firm that handles estate planning. She had access to client information, wealthy, elderly clients. We believe Vanessa befriended Whitney specifically to get that information, to identify their next targets. When Whitney got suspicious and threatened to go to the police, they couldn't kill her because they needed her passwords, her access. So they took her place in Travis's life and kept Whitney alive as leverage." My son. My baby boy had been sleeping next to a monster for 6 months, never knowing his real fiancée was locked in a basement. The front door of my house suddenly burst open. Rose stumbled out, blood running down her temple, but she was moving. Behind her, 2 FBI agents had Vanessa in handcuffs, the woman screaming and spitting like a wild animal. "You old bitch!" Vanessa shrieked, her eyes finding me in the crowd. "You were supposed to die. All you had to do was drink your tea and die quietly. But no, you had to be smart, had to call your sister, had to ruin everything. Do you know how long I worked on Travis? How many months I spent earning your trust? That house is worth $3 million. That was my money. Mine." The congregation moved forward as one, a wall of righteous anger. Vanessa actually flinched. "That's enough," Agent Chen said, pulling Vanessa toward a police car. But she wasn't done. "Robert's going to kill that stupid girl," she screamed at me. "He's there right now. By the time your cops get there, Whitney will be dead. And you'll have to live knowing you killed her by being too smart for your own good." I ran to Rose, who collapsed into my arms. "I'm okay," she gasped. She pistol-whipped me when the lights went out, tried to use me as a human shield, but I remembered that move Daddy taught us, swept her legs right out from under her. Our father had been a boxer. He'd taught both his daughters to fight. Travis appeared in the doorway, looking lost and broken. When he saw me, the real me, his face crumpled. "Mama? How? There's two of you." "That's your Aunt Rose, baby," I said gently. We switched places to catch Vanessa. "Come here." My son fell into my arms and sobbed like he was 5 years old again. "I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry, Mama. I thought I loved her. I thought she loved me. Whitney. Oh God, Whitney. What did I do?" "You didn't do anything," I said fiercely. "These people are professionals. They're con artists. This is not your fault." But even as I comforted my son, my mind was on that warehouse, on Whitney, on the texts that had stopped coming 5 minutes ago. Agent Simmons's radio crackled. "Units approaching the warehouse location, proceeding with caution. Suspect vehicle spotted in the lot." We all held our breath. The congregation had gone silent, everyone listening. Then, "Shots fired! Officer down! Suspect is barricaded inside with a hostage!" My knees buckled. Travis caught me. "Whitney," he whispered. "He's going to kill her because of us." "No," I said, strength flooding back into my limbs. "No, he's not. Agent Simmons, I need to talk to him." "Absolutely not," she said. "Mrs. Williams, you're a civilian. He wants money, right? That's what this is all about?" I pulled out my phone. "I'll give it to him. All of it. Every penny. Just get me on the phone with him." Agent Chen and Agent Simmons exchanged looks. "It might work," Chen said slowly, "if we can keep him talking long enough for the tactical team to get in position." They set it up quickly, putting my call through to Robert Pritchard's cell phone. It rang twice before a man answered, breathing hard. "Who is this?" he demanded. "This is Martha Williams," I said, my voice steady despite my shaking hands. "You've been trying to kill me for 6 months. You want my money? Let's talk about it." He laughed, a cold sound. "You think I'm stupid? I know the FBI is there. I know Vanessa got arrested. This is over." "It doesn't have to be," I said quickly. "I'm a rich woman, Mr. Pritchard. $3 million in real estate, another $2 million in investments and savings. You let Whitney go, you walk away, and I'll wire you $1 million right now. Untraceable. Offshore account. Whatever you want." "You're lying." "I'm not. The FBI might have frozen Vanessa's accounts, but they can't touch mine. Not yet. Not without a court order, and that takes time. Right now, today, I can give you enough money to disappear forever. Or you can kill that girl and spend the rest of your life in prison. Your choice." Silence. Then, $2 million. 1.5, I countered. "And you let Whitney go unharmed. How do I know you'll actually send it?" "Because unlike you, I keep my word," I said. "And because I'm a Christian woman who believes every life is precious. Even yours. Though Lord knows you don't deserve it. But that girl in your basement? She's done nothing to you. Let her go." More silence. Agent Simmons was frantically typing on a tablet, showing me messages. "Keep him talking. Team is in position. 2 more minutes." "I want to see the money first," Robert finally said. "Proof you can do it." "Put Whitney on the phone," I said. "Let me hear her voice. Confirm she's alive, and I'll show you my bank account right now." I heard shuffling, then a female voice, weak and terrified. "Hello? Whitney? Honey, this is Martha, Travis's mother. Are you hurt?" "My leg. I think it's broken, and I'm so thirsty. Please help me." "We're coming for you, baby. Just hold on. Mr. Pritchard, you've heard her. She's no use to you anymore. Let her go and take the money." The line went dead. For 10 agonizing seconds, nothing happened. Then Agent Simmons's radio exploded with activity. "Breach, suspect down, hostage secure, medical needed immediately." The congregation erupted in shouts of praise. Travis collapsed to his knees. Rose grabbed my hand and squeezed it so hard I felt my bones grind. "Whitney's alive," Agent Chen said, holding his radio to his ear. "She's badly dehydrated and has a broken leg, but she's alive. Robert Pritchard fired at officers and was shot. He's in custody, Critical condition. I should have felt relief. Victory, even. We'd won. Rose was safe. Whitney was safe. The Pritchards were in custody. It was over. But Agent Simmons' face told a different story. She pulled me aside, away from the celebrating crowd. "Mrs. Williams, we need to talk about your finances. When we arrest someone for fraud and attempted murder, we have to freeze all associated assets pending investigation. Your house, your accounts, all of it is now part of a criminal investigation. We found forged documents in Vanessa's possession that show you signing over power of attorney to her, transferring deeds, changing beneficiaries on life insurance policies worth $4 million. My stomach dropped. But I never signed those. She forged them. I believe you. But proving that in court takes time. Months, maybe years. In the meantime, your assets are frozen. You can't sell the house. You can't access most of your accounts. The court will appoint a temporary conservator while this gets sorted out. But where am I supposed to live? How am I supposed to eat? Family, usually. Or... She looked uncomfortable. There are shelters, assistance programs for elderly victims of fraud. Shelters. Me, Martha Williams, who'd owned her home for 40 years, reduced to a shelter. Travis heard and stood up. "Mama, you'll stay with me. You and Aunt Rose both." But Agent Simmons shook her head. "Your apartment was in both your and Vanessa's names. It's also frozen pending investigation." My son had nothing. I had nothing. The monsters had taken everything. Pastor Williams stepped forward, the entire congregation behind him. "Sister Martha, you're not going to any shelter. You'll stay in the church parsonage. We have 2 empty bedrooms. And Sister Rose, you too. This church takes care of its own." Sister Eleanor was already on her phone. "I'm calling the benevolence committee. We'll make sure you have everything you need. Food, clothes, whatever." "You're not alone, Martha." Deacon Harris raised his voice so everyone could hear. "Tomorrow, we're organizing a legal fund. Brother Thompson's daughter is a lawyer. She'll help fight these charges pro bono. Sister Jenkins works for the courthouse. She'll expedite the paperwork. We have resources. We have connections. And we have faith that God will restore what the devil tried to steal." I stood there, surrounded by my church family, my twin sister, my son, and I realized something. The Pritchards had taken my house, my money, my security. But they couldn't take this. They couldn't take love. They couldn't take community. They couldn't take faith. Vanessa was being loaded into a police car, still screaming obscenities. As the car pulled away, she locked eyes with me through the window. And she smiled, a triumphant, vicious smile. That's when Agent Chen approached me again, his face grim. "Mrs. Williams, there's something else." When we searched Vanessa's belongings, we found a list. 10 names. 10 elderly women across 5 states. You were number 8. Numbers 9 and 10. He paused. "They're members of your congregation. Sister Eleanor and Sister Dorothy Hayes." The world spun. My friends, my church sisters, they were already being targeted. "There's more," Chen continued. "We found evidence that the Pritchards have been working with someone inside the court system, someone who's been helping them forge documents, expedite fraudulent probate cases, make their victims' deaths look natural and their inheritance claims look legitimate. We don't know who it is yet, but Mrs. Williams..." He looked me dead in the eye. "Until we find out who their inside person is, no one is safe. Not you, not your friends, not anyone on that list. Because whoever is helping them is still out there. And they know you ruined their operation. They know you cost them millions of dollars. And they're going to want revenge." A black sedan pulled up to the curb. The window rolled down, and I saw a face I recognized from my own lawyer's office. James Morrison, the partner who'd handled my husband's estate when he died. He'd been so helpful, so kind. He looked right at me and smiled. Then he drove away. My blood turned to ice. "That's him," I whispered. That's their inside man. He has copies of everything. My real will, my real documents. He knows exactly what I own and how to take it. And that's when my phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. You should have died quietly, Martha. Now I'll make sure you lose everything before you die screaming. And your family will watch. J. I sat in the church parsonage at 4 a.m, staring at that text message, and something inside me shifted. For 6 months, I'd been afraid, sick, confused, dying slowly, and not understanding why. But now I knew the truth. Now I had names. Now I had proof. And I was done being a victim. Rose found me in the kitchen, making coffee with hands that no longer shook. You look different, she said carefully. I'm angry, I said simply. James Morrison thinks he can threaten me? Threaten my family? My church? No, absolutely not. We're going on the offensive. By 6 a.m., I had a war council assembled in Pastor Williams's office. Rose, Travis, Deacon Harris, Sister Eleanor, Agent Chen, Agent Simmons, and a lawyer named Patricia Hayes, Sister Dorothy's granddaughter who'd driven in from Atlanta the moment she heard. Patricia was sharp as a tack, barely 30 years old, with intelligent eyes and a no-nonsense attitude. First thing we need to do is get an emergency hearing to unfreeze your assets, she said, spreading papers across the desk. The FBI has enough evidence that Vanessa forged those documents. We can prove you never signed anything. But James Morrison is the problem. He's a respected attorney. He's handled estates for half the wealthy families in this county. If we accuse him without ironclad proof? We have proof, I interrupted. I pulled out my phone and played the recording Rose and I had made. Every conversation with Vanessa. Every phone call she'd made that our cameras caught. Including the one where she'd said, James said the will would hold up in any court. He's never been wrong before. Patricia's eyes widened. This is good. This is really good. But we need more. We need to connect him directly to the forgeries, to the other victims. We need financial records, Agent Simmons said. She was typing rapidly on her laptop. If Morrison was getting kickbacks from the Pritchards, there'll be a trail. Bank transfers, cash deposits, something. Give me 48 hours. We don't have 48 hours, I said. That text said he's coming for my family, for Sister Eleanor and Sister Dorothy. We need to move now. Deacon Harris stood up, his jaw set. Then we protect them. Sister Eleanor is staying with my wife and me. Sister Dorothy, you're going to your granddaughters. Nobody goes anywhere alone. We set up a rotation, church members watching each other's houses. Morrison makes a move. We'll see it. And I'm filing for an emergency restraining order against Morrison, Patricia added. The text is a direct threat. That gives us grounds. The emergency hearing was set for the next afternoon. I spent the hours in between doing something I should have done months ago. I went to visit the families of the other 3 women Vanessa had killed. The first was Mrs. Helen Crawford's daughter, Angela. She lived 2 counties over, in a small house filled with photos of the mother she'd lost. When I explained who I was and why I'd come, Angela started crying. They told me Mama died of natural causes, she sobbed. Heart failure. But I knew something was wrong. She was healthy, and then suddenly she was sick, and then she was gone. And her caregiver, this sweet woman named Victoria, she inherited everything. Everything. Mama's house, her savings, even her jewelry. The will was ironclad, the lawyer said. I couldn't fight it. Victoria, I said slowly. Did she have dark hair, about 5'6", beautiful smile? Angela pulled out a photo. It was Vanessa. Different hair color, different name, same face. The lawyer who handled the estate, I said, my heart pounding. Was it James Morrison? Angela's face went white. Yes, how did you know? By the end of the day, I'd visited 3 families, 3 daughters who'd lost their mothers and their inheritances. 3 estates handled by James Morrison, 3 fake identities used by Vanessa, And when Agent Simmons ran the financial records, she found it. Morrison had received consulting fees totaling $800,000 from offshore accounts controlled by Robert Pritchard. The courtroom was packed the next day. Patricia had requested a full hearing, not just an emergency motion. She wanted everything on record. Judge Sarah Thompson, a stern black woman in her 60s, presided. James Morrison sat in the gallery, watching. He'd brought his own lawyer, claiming he was there as a concerned member of the bar, but I could see the calculation in his eyes. Patricia started with the medical evidence. "Your Honor, I'd like to call Dr. Raymond Foster to the stand." A middle-aged black man in a white coat approached the bench. "Dr. Foster, you examined Martha Williams last week. What did you find?" "I found elevated levels of arsenic in her blood, hair, and nail samples," Dr. Foster said clearly. "Consistent with chronic poisoning over a period of several months. Had the poisoning continued, Mrs. Williams would have died within weeks, possibly days. The symptoms, nausea, tremors, organ damage, were all consistent with arsenic poisoning." A murmur went through the courtroom. Judge Thompson's face was stone. "And you've also examined the remains of Helen Crawford, deceased?" Patricia continued. "I have. At the family's request and with court permission, we exhumed Mrs. Crawford's body. Arsenic poisoning, same pattern, same dose progression." Patricia entered the toxicology reports into evidence, then called Whitney Thompson to the stand. The young woman looked frail, one leg in a cast, but her voice was strong. "Miss Thompson, can you identify the woman who kidnapped you?" Whitney pointed directly at Vanessa, who sat in orange prison scrubs, glaring. "That's her. She called herself my friend. We met at a coffee shop, or at least I thought it was random. She targeted me because I worked at Hartfield and Morrison Law." The courtroom erupted. Judge Thompson banged her gavel. "She wanted access to client files," Whitney continued, her voice shaking. "Wealthy, elderly clients. She said she was doing research for a book about estate planning. I was so stupid. I gave her information, names, addresses, asset values, and when I realized what she was doing with it, when I saw Mrs. Crawford's name in the obituaries and remembered she was one of the clients I'd mentioned, I confronted Vanessa. That's when she and her husband Robert took me." "Lies!" Vanessa shouted, standing up. "She's lying! I never—" "Sit down, Ms. Pritchard," Judge Thompson said coldly. "You'll have your chance to speak. Continue, Miss Thompson." "They kept me in a basement for 6 months," Whitney said, tears streaming down her face. "They said if I behaved, they'd let me go after they got Martha's money. But I heard them talking. They were never going to let me go. I was supposed to die too." Patricia walked Whitney through the entire timeline. How Vanessa had stolen her identity. How she'd used Whitney's ID and social security number to marry Travis. How Robert had forged a marriage license with help from someone inside the county clerk's office. Another person they'd paid off who was now also under investigation. Then Patricia dropped the bomb. "Miss Thompson, did the defendants ever mention working with anyone else? Anyone who helped them legitimize their fraudulent claims?" Whitney nodded. "Yes, a lawyer. They called him their inside man. He would forge documents, file false probate claims, make everything look legal. Vanessa said he was brilliant, that he'd never been caught. She said his name was—" "Objection!" James Morrison's lawyer shot to his feet. "Your Honor, this is hearsay and speculation. My client is not on trial here." "Your Honor," Patricia said smoothly, "I have documentation that will prove direct involvement. Agent Simmons, please approach the bench." Agent Simmons handed the judge a thick folder. "Your Honor, these are financial records showing payments from Robert Pritchard's offshore accounts to James Morrison's personal accounts. $800,000 over 5 years. We've also traced email communications between Morrison and the Pritchards discussing specific targets, including Martha Williams." I watched Morrison's face drain of color. He stood up and started walking toward the exit. "Bailiff, stop that man," Judge Thompson ordered. "Mr. Morrison, sit down, now." Morrison froze, turned slowly, And for just a moment, his mask slipped. I saw rage. Pure, murderous rage. "You can't prove anything," he said, his voice tight. "Those emails could have been fabricated. The money could be for legitimate legal services. This is a witch hunt." "Then perhaps you can explain this," Patricia said, pulling out another document. "This is a copy of Martha Williams's real will, filed with the state bar 10 years ago. And this," she held up another paper, "is the forged will Vanessa Pritchard tried to submit to probate. They're different documents, Mr. Morrison, but they both have your signature as witness. How did you witness 2 different wills for the same person?" The courtroom went silent. Morrison's lawyer was frantically whispering to him, but Morrison wasn't listening. He was staring at me with such hatred I could feel it like heat. "She was supposed to die," he said quietly. Then louder. "She was supposed to die. They all were. Stupid rich old women sitting on millions while the rest of us work ourselves to death. You know how much I made as a junior partner? Pennies. While women like you and Helen Crawford and the others sat in your big houses, hoarding wealth you didn't earn, didn't deserve. I made $7 million helping the Pritchards, and I'd do it again. Every single one of you deserved what you got." The courtroom exploded. Judge Thompson was banging her gavel. Bailiffs were moving toward Morrison. His lawyer looked like he wanted to disappear into the floor. Agent Chen was already reading Morrison his rights as they handcuffed him. "James Morrison, you're under arrest for conspiracy to commit murder, fraud, racketeering." But Morrison wasn't done. He looked right at me and smiled. "It doesn't matter. You still lose, Martha. I filed paperwork yesterday transferring your property to a shell corporation. By tomorrow, your house will be sold. The buyers are already lined up. You'll never get it back. Never." My heart stopped. Patricia grabbed my hand. "He's bluffing. He has to be." But Agent Simmons' face said otherwise. "Judge, we need to check the county records. Now." The hearing was paused while Deacon Harris's niece, who worked at the county recorder's office, pulled up the electronic files. And there it was. A grant deed, filed yesterday at 4:45 p.m., 15 minutes before the office closed. Transferring my property to Golden Years Investment, LLC, signed with my forged signature, notarized by someone who was probably also on Morrison's payroll. "The sale is scheduled to close in 72 hours, the clerk said quietly. "Once it closes, even if we prove fraud, getting the property back could take years of litigation." I felt everything crumble. We'd caught them. We had proof. We had confessions. But Morrison had still won. He'd still taken my home. Travis was crying. Rose looked devastated. Patricia was already on her phone trying to find a judge who could issue an emergency injunction, but it was 5 p.m. on a Friday. We were out of time. "I'm sorry, Mama," Travis whispered. "I'm so sorry." I stood up slowly, my legs shaking. I looked at Morrison, who was grinning even in handcuffs. I looked at Vanessa, who was laughing quietly. I looked at the judge, at my family, at my church family who'd filled the courtroom to support me. And then I remembered something. Something Morrison didn't know. "Your Honor," I said, my voice carrying through the courtroom. "I'd like to submit additional evidence." I pulled out a document from my purse. My real will. The one I'd filed myself in secret 2 weeks ago when Rose first arrived. The one I'd taken to a different lawyer in a different county after my conversation with Deacon Harris first made me suspicious. This is my actual will, filed with the state bar and the county recorder's office in Baldwin County on November 1st. It clearly states that I am of sound mind and that any documents transferring my property filed after this date without my explicit appearance before a judge are to be considered fraudulent. It also names my sister Rose as power of attorney, effective immediately if anyone attempts to claim otherwise. Patricia's mouth dropped open. You filed a protective will?" "My husband Jerome was a smart man," I said. "He always told me to have a backup plan. This house has been in our family for 40 years. I wasn't going to lose it without a fight." Judge Thompson read the document carefully. Then she smiled, the first time I'd seen any warmth on her face all day. "This changes everything. Bailiff, I want the county recorder in this courtroom first thing Monday morning. I'm issuing an emergency order freezing all transactions related to the property at 2847 Oak Street. Mr. Morrison, your little shell corporation scheme just fell apart." Morrison's face turned purple. He lunged toward me, but the bailiffs grabbed him. "You stupid bitch! I'll kill you! I'll kill you myself!" "Add terroristic threats to his charges," Judge Thompson said dryly. "Get him out of my courtroom." As they dragged Morrison away, still screaming, Vanessa started laughing hysterically. "You think you won? You think this is over? There are more of us. We're everywhere. Every city, every state. You stopped us, but you can't stop them all. Old people dying alone, nobody caring, nobody checking. It's perfect. That's enough," Agent Chen said, nodding to the officers. "Take her back to holding." The hearing ended with Judge Thompson ruling in my favor on every count. My assets were unfrozen. The forged documents were nullified. I had my life back. But as we left the courthouse, surrounded by celebrating church members, I couldn't shake Vanessa's words. There are more of us. Every city, every state. Agent Simmons pulled me aside. "She's not wrong," she said quietly. "Elder fraud is an epidemic. We shut down this operation, but there are hundreds more, maybe thousands. People like Morrison, like the Pritchards, they're predators. And the system makes it so easy." "Then we change the system," I said firmly. 3 months later, I stood in front of the state legislature. Patricia had helped me draft a bill, the Elder Protection Act. It required mandatory reporting of sudden will changes for anyone over 65. It created a database to track suspicious patterns. It imposed harsh penalties for lawyers and caregivers involved in elder fraud. It funded training for law enforcement to recognize the signs. And it was named after Helen Crawford, the first woman Vanessa had killed. Helen's daughter Angela stood with me. So did the families of all 7 victims. Whitney was there too, holding Travis's hand. They were taking things slowly, rebuilding trust, going to counseling. But they were together. Rose had decided to stay in the States. "I've been in London long enough," she said. "My sister needs me. And apparently, I'm pretty good at playing detective." The bill passed unanimously. The governor signed it into law in my living room, in my house, that I would never take for granted again. Vanessa Pritchard was sentenced to life in prison without parole for 7 counts of first-degree murder. Robert Pritchard died from his gunshot wounds before he could stand trial. James Morrison got 45 years for conspiracy to commit murder, fraud, and racketeering. 17 other people connected to their operation were arrested, including the county clerk, 2 notaries, and a probate judge. But the real victory happened the week after the trial ended. I was at Greater Mount Zion for Wednesday night Bible study when Sister Eleanor stood up during testimony time. "I want to thank Sister Martha," she said, her voice shaking with emotion. "I was on that list. Number 9. If she hadn't been brave enough to fight back, I'd be dead right now. My children would be mourning. My grandchildren would be asking where Grandma went. But I'm here. I'm alive. Because one woman refused to die quietly." The church erupted in amens and hallelujahs. Pastor Williams invited me to the pulpit. "I didn't do this alone," I said, looking out at all the faces I loved. "When I was at my lowest, when I had nothing, when these devils had taken everything from me, you all showed up. You prayed, you donated, you protected me. You reminded me that I'm not just Martha Williams who owns a house. I'm Martha Williams, who belongs to a community, who belongs to a family, and that's something no con artist can ever forge or steal or destroy." 6 months after that, I opened the Martha and Jerome Williams Elder Advocacy Center, funded by the restitution money seized from Morrison and the Pritchards' accounts. We help elderly people navigate legal issues, identify fraud, protect their assets. Rose runs it with me. Travis volunteers there every weekend, using his IT skills to help seniors protect themselves online. And Whitney? She became our lead investigator. Turns out, 6 months of surviving in captivity gives you a particular set of skills and a burning desire to make sure no one else goes through what you did. Last week, we stopped another operation. Different names, same playbook. An elderly man in Atlanta, his devoted nephew, a lawyer with forged documents. But this time, we caught them before anyone died. We're getting better at this. I still drink tea every night, but now I make it myself, in my own kitchen, in my own house, with my sister reading a book at my table and my son calling to check on me every evening at 8. The scars are still there. I have nightmares sometimes about that vial, about Vanessa's cold smile, about how close I came to dying alone and confused. But I also have something stronger than fear now. I have purpose. I have proof that even when evil comes dressed as family, dressed as love, dressed as help, the truth will always come to light if you're brave enough to shine it. And I have my community, my church, my family, the village that raised me and saved me and reminds me every single day that I am loved, I am valued, and I am never ever alone. James Morrison was wrong about one thing. These houses, these assets we've spent our lives building, we didn't hoard them. We earned them. We fought for them. And now we're using them to make sure the next generation of elders doesn't face the same predators we did. That's the real revenge. Not just surviving, not just winning, but taking what the enemy meant for evil and turning it into something that saves lives. That's justice. And honey, justice tastes sweeter than any tea I've ever had. Thanks for listening. Don't forget to subscribe and feel free to share your story in the comments. Your voice matters.